All right, so let's start this broadcast with the big story that we are tracking. This, of course, is Ken coming from Kenya, which finally has got a winner in the hard-fought presidential elections. Now, the Deputy President William Ruto has now been declared the president-elect by the Election Commission, and this marks a triumph for the man who's shaken up Kenyan politics by appealing to the struggling Kenyans on economic terms and not on the traditional ethnic ones.
I, Wafula Chebukati, Chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei of ID number 6847208 has been duly elected as the President of the Republic of Kenya under the provisions of Article 138 of the Constitution in the presidential election held on 9th of day of August 2022.
But it was not all smooth sailing during the election winner announcement process, because this is what actually happened at the time when the winner was declared. There were scuffles that erupted during the announcement of the presidential election results. Supporters of the opposition leader Raila Odinga stormed onto the stage and clashed with the security personnel who were stationed there. The people were seen throwing chairs at each other, tables, and also a lectern were thrown off from the stage. The diplomats and international election observers, remember, had been whisked out of the tallying hall before the results were announced. The Deputy Chairperson of the Election Commission and 3 other commissioners have disowned the presidential election results. Now, the declared winner, William Ruto, has secured 51% of the votes over rival and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who has managed to get about 48% of the votes. Both the frontrunners in Kenya's presidential race are very seasoned politicians. Uhuru Kenyatta, who has reached the end of the 2 presidential terms, fell out with his Deputy President Ruto after the last elections and is said to be endorsing Raila Odinga for the role of the leadership. Remember, earlier Odinga supporters had also entered into the restricted area near the Election Commission and had accused the electoral officers of tampering with the vote during the vote count. The Ruto supporters have accused their opponents of interfering with the election process. The riot police had to be deployed inside of the building to reinforce security measures. The election also comes amidst a cost of living crisis and the soaring unemployment rates in Kenya. Tackling inflation and the rising prices has stopped the election pitch for all candidates. Now, the Kenyans voted in 6 elections to choose a new president, as well as senators, governors, lawmakers, women representatives, and at least some 1,500 county officials. The turnout during this election was lower than expected at about 65%, and out of Kenya's 22 million registered voters, in comparison with the 78% of the people who had voted in the elections of 2017. Now, remember, in 2017, there were huge logistical errors that led to the Supreme Court in annulling the result and ordering for a presidential poll rerun. Officials are now under pressure, and they are hoping that they have got things right this time round. The allegations of election rigging are as old as the country. It was part of the politics even before the multi-party elections were reintroduced in the 1990s, but the push for free and fair elections has never faltered. After the violence that followed the 2007 elections, political parties and activists have argued for the use of technology instead of physical registers, which can be easily manipulated to verify voters. But this year, the observers have said that with the race being so close, an appeal to the Supreme Court by the losing candidate Odinga is pretty much certain, which means that it might take many weeks before the new president assumes office. All right, now to give us more insights in terms of what's happened with this electoral result that's just been announced in Kenya, we're joined by our correspondent, Coletta Wanjohi, who's joining us live from Addis Ababa. Coletta, it's been a long time coming. The elections were held last week. The vote count lasted for almost about a week, and now we finally have a result. Tell us more.
Yes, as you can imagine, Kenyans have waited for about 6 days to get the results, and the results come with a lot of confusion. Just like you've said earlier, I mean, we've got the Electoral Commission announcing the president-elect as the Deputy President, William Ruto, but at the same time, we've got his main competitor who came very close, according to the Electoral Commission, refuting the results and saying that, and his chief agent saying that they need verified results. Whatever verified result means, they have to substantiate that probably to Kenyans. So a lot of confusion. Excitement for those who voted for Mr. William Ruto, but also not so much excitement because going forward, Kenyans don't know what next will happen. We've already had some skirmishes here and there, some supporters of Mr. Odinga showing their disapproval of the whole process by burning tires, some commotion here and there. But going forward, Kenyans will be looking to see what will the Azimio party of Mr. Odinga take as a way forward. Will they go to the judiciary, or what will be the way forward?
Absolutely. Now, one of the most worrying aspects of this election vote count that has happened is the fact that the deputy chairperson of the Election Commission and also 3 other commissioners have distanced themselves from the results that have been put out. So what does this do for the legitimacy of the results that have now been announced?
I think it creates a lot of confusion, even more confusion than just the main competitor refuting the results. I mean, we have a commission of about seven commissioners, 4 of them saying much earlier, just before they announced the elections, the results, that they do not want to be part of that because of what they called an opaque system. Kenyans don't understand the opaque system because that briefing was very short and they didn't give the details, you see. So that creates another dent or another gap in terms of understanding what exactly happened. A lot of suspense, creating a lot of speculation, and you know, with speculation comes a lot of hearsay here and there, and that's what Kenyans are worried about, that it should not cause violence, because Kenya has a history of that. So Kenyans are worried that there need to be like clarification of what's happening. At least let the commissioner say so that people can understand.
Absolutely, indeed. I mean, so there needs to be a transition of power now, because quite clearly the incumbent president, Uhuru Kenyatta, has been backing Raila Odinga. Have you heard anything from the president's office so far?
No, the president's office has not spoken yet. He hasn't spoken anything yet. So we're just in an issue of speculation. If they decide to go to court, that means for the next 21 days, the country has to wait to see what the court maybe will say. So whatever happens from tomorrow would be highly determinant of how the country will move forward. And that means the economy remains a bit stalled again. People cannot go to work again. It creates fear, you know, and some tension that people are hoping would end by just the announcements today.
Absolutely, indeed. And also, Coletta, the fact that you've been tracking this election process very, very closely for us. You know, Raila Odinga's supporters are clearly not happy with the result that has been announced. They say that this is something that they expected, because they had earlier stormed into the office where the vote count was in fact taking place. Have you heard anything from the supporters of Raila Odinga? What are they saying about the result that's now been announced?
I think they're not excited. They're not really amused, because there was a lot of, especially for his own agents and those people who are really rallying for him, especially on social media, they kept encouraging people, telling people that this is his term, you know, this is his time, it's coming home, you know, those are the words they were using. Then when the results are announced, they announce something else, or we have the chief agent right before the announcing of the results saying that they do not accept the results, you know. So that kind of has, of course, understandably so, created a lot of desperation for people who thought at least he would take it, because he's tried for 4 times. This was supposed to be his 5th. So his own supporters also, I think, want some explanation what exactly is happening, and it is upon him and his party to try and explain and probably calm his own supporters down.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you very much indeed, Coletta Wanjohi, for joining us from Addis Ababa and getting us all those insights there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.